Well, welcome to Martini time. I'm putting a lemon twist in my martini instead of an olive. My uncle, who is a martini priest and who ordained me, was very fun, very pure. Gin, not vermouth, just a little bit of vermouth and a lemon twist. And so, I've been using olives, but let me do something here. The lemon twist does add a little bit of lemon flavor, but the olive gives you a little olive flavor, but this gives you, it's hard to describe, you have to try one. So, took me a while. When I was bringing my uncle his martinis, I didn't know what a lemon twist was, so I was just putting a slice of lemon in there. And my daughter showed me what she used to tend bars, so she showed me what a lemon twist is. You cut a twist of lemon off the peel. So there's a twist of lemon, you see. But that has a little extra meaning for me because my talks have a little twist in them, Anyway, wanted to talk about the rise of Trump. I want to share my insights that I have during the day at Happy Time here. And today I've been inciting on Trump as a phenomenon, not as a political argument, but as a historical phenomena. And how did it rise? What does it mean? How long does it stay? Because we're watching this psychodrama unfold daily, like a Shakespearean play, like a mystery, and we have the investigators probing, and the defense and the deflections. It's a great story. It's captivating. But I have a metaphorical mind, or I see things metaphorically, and also I see things in it as evolution, the evolution of consciousness. So our consciousness evolves individually and collectively, and humanity's consciousness is evolving. We're certainly, every stage has a different worldview. We think the people in the Middle Ages saw the world like we see it. No, they lived in a totally different worldview. And it was a mythic worldview. The mythic world, in the development of us as children, we go through all the stages of consciousness. Magic is early childhood. Then we go into a mythic consciousness where the difference between two. Now I've just been reading Ken Wilber, so I'm full of that. So if you've ever read Ken Wilber, you'll probably recognize some of this stuff. So, but it all interconnects in my mind, so it's not just that. But the magic stage of childhood is where the child believes he can magically change the world. The mythic stage is when the parent or some authority can change the world. And so this mythic stage is the religious stage, because in the religious stage, and this is not to say anything wrong with it, I'm just saying that the mythic stage is where you recognize that an exterior power has the creative authority. So you ask the power for boons, for help, for healing, for aid, you see. So it is the mythic thing is in the Middle Ages, the whole civilization was mythic. And the church was the sacramental vehicle to this external power, you see. And so rationalism was an evolution of consciousness, and it wiped out the mythic consciousness. And the rationalism created the world we perceive now, which is a flat, rational, logical, empirically based scientific materialism. Everything is equal. The earth is not the center of the world. The human species is not the center of the species. So everything is relative, you see. Everything is flat. And while this view creates civilization we live in, it gives us no personal meaning. So we're missing value. Science can't tell you what your purpose is. It'll just tell you how to do stuff. It can't give you any value because all values are relative. You see, there's no hierarchy of value. The worm, in the scientific view, the worm has as much value as the person. You see, everything. So this flat world, you see, has no hierarchy of values. And that gives us meaning. So we haven't been able to put the two together. The Middle Ages had value. Everything was in a pyramid of value. Men had more, the God was the top value, then the Pope, then the bishops, then the man, and then the woman, and then the children, and then the peasants, and, a hierarchy of value. So democracy kind of like flattens that. You see, so the democracy was a child of the rational age, where every individual is equal. There is no hierarchy of valuable humans in the sense of the English monarchy and that particular worldview that America disconnected itself from, because that view was still the old pyramid with the king, divine right king, and then all of his court, you see. And in England, the king was head of the church, so it was a church state. Although they did have parliament. So they had been working on it, you see. So, given that the secular materialistic world, the scientific utopia, flattened value and meaning, there has been a hunger to restore value. Now, there's either two ways to go. You either go from the rational worldview to a new evolution of consciousness, or you regress back to the mythic. And that's going on right now. Like this. So we have one urge regressing back to the mythic view of value, family value. When you look at the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, are both parties of values. Or you have the evolutionary drive to transcend rationalism and create a new world order, and you could call that with globalism, transpersonal. All these spiritual practices that we're involved in is transpersonal. They're trans-ego. They are trans-rational, trans-logic. Zen is trans-logic. You can't figure out a Zen koan with logic. Non-dualism is trans-logic. Logic is either or, you see. So there is an evolutionary push to transcend rationalism and its logic, and there is a regression to go back to the mythic view. And that's going on at the same time. And it gets very confusing, because it's like having dinosaurs and mammals running around at the same time. Evolution going in two different ways, back to the lizard or forward. You see, so it's going like this. So what a wah, you see. Evolution is the drive to evolution. We're in that transition right now, so we can't see which way we're going. So anyway, the rise of Trump. So Trump, I've been, and please, I don't want to get into a political thing here. I've just been observing here from Southside Virginia. I came here in 1980, and so I wrote for the newspaper here, and I've been observing the worldview of Southside Virginia, which is conservative Republican. And it's a value system. In other words, it's like you're born into it here. You're born into, but this has not been the way it's always been. It's not like the Catholic Church that goes back 2,000 years. This value system only was created, say, 40 years ago. And I'm old enough to remember when it wasn't here. When Republicans were just the pragmatic business minds who were looking at the accountants and making sure your budget was balanced. It wasn't a personal value system. It was the conservative and the Democrats were always passionate about labor and stuff like that, so you had passion on one side and you had reason on the other. Passion and reason, And so they kind of balanced and played to create policy. And then suddenly something changed after the 60s, after the split in the crack in the American egg. It split in two. And patriotism got divided. Liberty got divided in the 60s. And we're still trying to figure it out. So I ran across Goldwater the other day, quote, and so he said, and this basically, extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. He didn't get elected, but that impulse seeded the soil and grew. What does it mean? Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. Well, extremism means any means to defend liberty. What is liberty? My value. It's a value, liberty, you see. So in the defense of my value, I can do anything. Extremism is no vice, you see. Any means to the end of defending my value. So as the Republican Party morphed into the conservative movement conservatism, it became the value party for liberty, for freedom. And if you're going to have a value for freedom, you've got to have somebody who's trying to take away your freedom. Well, after the Cold War ended, and you couldn't say the communists were trying to take away my freedom, which is the context of when Goldwater was talking, when the Cold War went away, who's the enemy? Who's trying to take away my freedom? My value? The government. Reagan came out and said it. The worst thing you can hear is when the government comes and says, I'm going to help you. You see? So the government is trying to take away my liberty. So this became the primary value system of movement conservative, was that we're the party of patriotism, liberty, family values. See, so then you invite, come on in, Christians, come on in, evangelicals, come on in, you see. We'll give you some values: abortion, no gays, marriage, no gay marriage, no abortion. These are in the Bible, these are your values, and we'll defend them. So you get this kind of like Christian social values mixed with patriotism, and you got a winning combination there. And then Newt Gingrich weaponized it and made the Republican Party into a marching bunch of redcoats. Every Republican on TV had talking points, marching orders for the day. They spoke one value system. The Democrats were like the Tower of Babel, blah, 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 you see. And the Republican Party was a monolithic party of true values, you see. The problem with that, now let's see, I guess I need to get into, all right, well, let's, I hope I'm staying to my point. But this became when the Christian right, when the Republican Party and the Protestant Christian right, the evangelicals, merged. They brought in Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson, televangelism, and they brought in the mythic view, which is religious. The religious view is mythic because, and mythic is not fantasy, it means it's a way of viewing the world that gives you a place and a meaning and a purpose. You see, a worldview in which there is a God who is directing things and to whom you can pray and get benefits. Tax relief. You see? Beneficent, He'll protect your values, you see. So God will protect my values, you see. Okay. So when the movement conservatives split patriotism into my liberty against your liberty, the value system split. So the conservative movement was a monolithic value system that was based on exclusion of opposite values. See, this is the problem with values. When I have a value, it's valuable because there's other people who are attacking it, who want to remove it. When everybody has the same value, there's no value. When everyone has the same value, there's no value in it. It's only valuable when I've got it and you don't. You see? The price of the value of a sale is the fact that I got a cheaper price than you got. If the price is the same, there's no value. It's all the same. So think about that. In order to have a personal value, it's only valuable because other people don't have it. And they, of course, then become the enemy. Particularly if their values, because I want my value to be the one value that has no second. So obviously, by creating my value as the one value that has no second, the true value, I'm going to create an enemy, an opposite, you see. So now there's going to be a push-pull, you see. And the other value, the false value, cannot be compromised with. You have to eliminate it. It's no longer a tennis match. It's a war for the soul, so you're going to shoot that guy. The irony is, if you remove the opposite value, you also remove your value. If you remove the threatening value, so that all my value is the same for everybody, I remove my value. It's no longer valuable because everybody's got the same value. We don't see that. So anyway, that means just value. When you have a my value, that's going to be an endless war. Okay, so what are the democratic values? Well, if the Republican value is exclusive, it excludes gays, it excludes Black Lives Matters, it excludes women, it excludes immigrants, it excludes all these special values, then the democratic values are going to be the values that the Republicans exclude. That's just the way it's got to be. If you exclude, in order to have my value, I have to exclude other values. There's no way to have my value without excluding what threatens my value, you see. So we lost the whole. So like patriotism or liberty is the value of all Americans. But if you possess it as your value and then exclude the liberty of other people, you create a cultural war, a neurosis. You create a schizophrenia in the collective mind that is now divided against itself, you see. And so this mythic, I guess, getting back to mythic displacement, that's what I wanted to get to. Mythic displacement. Now, I don't know if that's a real word or not. I made it up. So mythic displacement would be when a religious mythic view of a God and a Savior is displaced onto a secular field. So this is what happened. The Republican Party, by inviting the religious values in, performed a grafting of religion and politics, secular politics, that has never happened before. It's called church and state, by the way, which we don't want to have together. They got put together, went through the back door, put together religious values and secular values into one monolithic cocktail. So that creates a mythic world in a secular field. So now the Savior is not Jesus coming personally, my personal Savior, it's a political Savior. So now Reagan is the Moses, and Trump is for those who are his base, you see. He's their light bulb, the base of a lamp. Trump's the light bulb. He's the political savior. He is the personification of my values, you see. That's what the Savior does. He is the personification in flesh and blood of my values. His voice is my voice. And as long as I identify with him, I'm valuable. So you can't break that up. And this is why we're constantly confused about the Trump base. We'll still believe in Trump, even though he's deconstructing before our eyes. And he said it. I could shoot somebody in Times Square and they'd still vote for me. Trump knows. Trump knows, you see. So, this mythic displacement has made Trump into a mythic god for those who have invested in his reflection of their values, you see. So he reflects their values, speaks their values. He doesn't do their values, but he creates a tent pole and an umbrella where we can be a monolithic tribe, you see, against all those enemy tribes that are trying to attack us and take away my freedom, you see. So this whole idea of trying to jam something down my throat, take away my freedom, you can see it echoed in all different dimensions, whether it's some guy sitting up in the woods with a Confederate flag and a rifle, or somebody storing rifles and ammunition in their basement. There's the expectation that somebody's going to come and take away my freedom, you see. So that whole idea that the Republican Party is the protection of your freedom, you see, is a mythic value that has been systematically created over the years, and now we're paying the price. Now we're reaping the whirlwind, you see. So, because the Republican Party is divided into rational and irrational, rational and mythic. Those who will die for Trump, and those who scratching their heads. If I go with Trump, I'm dead. If I don't go with Trump, I'm dead. Double bind, lose-lose, you see. If I go with Trump and vote for his and go down with his ship, I'm dead. If I vote against him, I'm dead. Very bad position. Very bad position. So anyway, I've just been playing with this idea and chewing on it like a cow with the cud. I chew on some idea and talk about it on Facebook and let it unfold and reveal itself to me, So this is a regression. Trump is a regression. He's not going into the direction history's going. He's not going to transpersonal. He's not going to transrational. He's not going to a worldview that includes the parts. He's going towards the exclusion and the celebration of the part and making the whole the enemy. When the part declares itself as the whole, excuse me, if a part of an organism declares that it's the whole organism, the enemy is going to be the whole organism. So if a part declares itself to be the true nation, the enemy is going to be all that it excludes. So when he says make America great again, he's saying make my part of America great again at the exclusion of the rest of the parts. And now I've got a permanent enemy. The media, false news, the liberals, antichrists, false Americans, the illegal aliens coming in to take away my money and my freedom, you see, and the Muslims coming in to kill us, build a wall, you see. And it's all based on the regression into a worldview that is mythic in proportions, but totally regressive and going in the opposite direction of evolution. The world's going towards greater unity, greater harmony, greater cooperation, greater inclusion. That's the way life evolves. Greater unity, greater inclusion, greater wholes. Not regressing towards resistance against the whole and creating a separate nation. This is like, like the Civil War was about that. Instead of going towards a greater nation, it said, I'm taking my marbles and going home. I'm not going to play, you see. So anyway, thanks for dropping in, and I'll see you in the morning.